Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you my February and probably March TBR list. So the reason why I said February and March is because I have a couple of books on here. Actually, I have quite a few books on here. I always feel like I have a bajillion books on my TBR list and I only get through like half of them. So what I was thinking is that instead of telling you each month what books I plan to read and have a lot of overlap between the months, that I would just do February and March together in this video, and then at the end of February and end of March, I'll let you know what books I read. We'll see how that goes. I might change my mind. I might have a lot of changes in preference in what I want to read by the time we get to March. So we'll see, but I'm trying this out for now. All right, so the first two books that I definitely want to read by the end of February are these two. And the first one is Cinder, and it's by Marissa Meyer. And this is one, again, like I said, I started in January. I got about halfway through with it, and I definitely would like to finish it this month because I have the second book, Scarlet, that I'll show in just a minute or in a couple of minutes that I would also like to read. This is actually going to be my second time reading it. I'm rereading the series in preparation for the fourth book, which I have not yet read and I want to read so I can complete the series. So far, I still like it. I don't remember if I like it as much. Like, I don't know if I like it as much as when I first read it because I don't really remember how well I liked it the first time, except that I liked it. But so far, I am still enjoying it. So I'm about 45% of the way through. I think I could finish this this weekend or within the first week of February if I really just kind of like sit down and read for a long period of time, like a day. The next book that I want to finish reading is The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. And this is again a book that I started. I got about 47 pages in and then kind of lost interest. So I did a little bit of checking around on Goodreads, and I did read the kind of the next part in the story that I think leads to the title of the story and also what the big like thriller or suspense element of the story is. So I will continue reading because I don't know the ending. I would like to see what happens with this book, but so far I'm not really impressed. I'm hoping it picks up a little bit, but I'm thinking this will probably definitely be a book I declutter afterwards because this is on my personal shelves, and that's one of the reasons why I'm reading it. The third book that I'm going to show is this one, and it's The Tea Girl of Hummingbird Lane. This is a book I also mentioned in January, and I mentioned that this was the book that my community chose to read for the year 2019. So they're doing a bunch of different events related around the themes of this book, and there's also going to be a book discussion at the end of February. So I want to make sure that I read this by the end of February, by the time the book discussion rolls around, because I would like to participate, or even if I don't actually like actively participate by sharing my own opinions about it, I can listen in and understand what people are talking about when they share their own opinions. So, oh, and I didn't say the author's name because it's a little bit hard to see. It's the author's name is Lisa C. So the next two books are kind of the reason why, or I mean, they're all the reason why, but these are a large part of the reason why I said I wanted to continue this into March. And so the first one is George R.R. Martin's A Game of Thrones, and it's the first book in the series. So I've gotten about this far of the way through, which is 166 pages, and that's the furthest I've gotten. And I've tried reading this like 2 or 3 times. So I want to put this on my TBR list because I want to read this. It seems like an amazing world and a really great story, and I've collected this book and like the next 4 books in this mass paperback series edition, and I want to read them. They're on my shelves. This is there's so much world building here, but I keep getting stuck at that 166 pages. So I'm hoping that by putting this on my TBR list early, I can really kind of remember to read it. I can pick it up when I have a little bit of downtime. This might be a reading at night before I go to sleep sort of thing. And because I have been doing that regularly for about 20 to 30 minutes. And then that way, hopefully I can get through this without feeling the pressure of needing to complete the book by the end of a month because, honestly, I don't think there's any way I'm gonna get through this in a month. I read quickly, but I get distracted easily. And this book is just way too thick for me to focus on at one time. The other book that kind of falls into this category of probably will go into March unless I finish all of these other books is this one, and it's The Gilded Wolves. It's by Roshani Chokshi, and this is a book that I saw on BookTube. It's one of the books that's featured in one of the recent book subscriptions. I don't remember which book subscription it is, but I know that I saw it on a couple of different BookTube videos, BookTube channels. So I was intrigued by the storyline. Honestly, I don't really remember a whole lot about it, although I think it takes place in Paris in the late 1800s. That's all I remember. So, like I said, I'm interested in reading it, but because I don't think it's fantasy, it doesn't quite fit into the readathon that I want to do in the middle of February. So this I'm actually going to kind of push until after the readathon, which means that it's probably going to go into March. Okay, so now for the books that I'm going to read or would like to read for the readathon at the end of February. So what readathon is this? Paige from Creating & Co. is hosting the Enchantathon. It's from February 18th through the 24th. I'll leave a link to the YouTube video where she announces all this information down below. But basically there are 5 prompts. The first prompt is to read the group book. The second prompt is to read a book with, let me check. Oh, is to read a retelling, like a fairy tale retelling. The third challenge is to read a book with royalty in it. The fourth book is to read a book that contains romance. Sorry, I had to look at my notes for that. And then the last one is to read a book that incorporates any element of fantasy in it, even if it's more of an urban fantasy or like, what is it? Like magical realism, where it takes place in kind of modern day or reality, but then there's a little element of magic in it. So Paige said there's really no like strict rules on this. You can choose one book, like you could do the group read and just have that count for all the challenges or multiple challenges. You can choose one book for each challenge, so you have 5 books. It's just, you know, something that's supposed to be fun, and all the themes are kind of fantasy related. So the group reads book is called A Curse So Dark and Lonely, I think. I'll have a picture here. And this is the book that the group chose, and I do believe it falls into multiple categories because I think it's a retelling of Beauty and the Beast. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of it because I did place a hold for this book in my library system, and I think I'm number 7 on the wait list. And even though there's 4 copies, I'm not floating around. I'm not quite sure if I'm gonna get my copy before the readathon actually starts. So I have some other books that will fit the other challenges, and then just the group read will be the only one that I can't get to if I don't get that book. So the first book is actually one that would cover 3 challenges, and this is probably going to be the first one that I read, and it's Scarlet by Marissa Meyer. This is number 2 in the Lunar Chronicles. This follows up after Cinder, which is why I wanted to read Cinder first and make sure I finished that book. So this book continues on. I know it has royalty in it. I know that there's romance, and then I know that this is a retelling of a little bit of Cinderella carrying over from Cinder, but then also I think Red Riding Hood. So this will probably be the first book that I try to read and finish, so that way I can guaranteed get 3 categories done. And then if I finish this and start other ones, I'll go to the other books on my list. The next book that I would probably read and pick up to read is this one, and it's In an Absent Dream by Shannon Maguire. And this is the book that would fall under the includes magic in some way. This is the 4th book in the Wayward Children series, which is one of my favorite series ever. It's about these children who find portals into alternate worlds, or yeah, like different worlds, and they go there and they live there, and they find that these worlds are like perfect for them, but then for whatever reason they get kicked back out into our own reality, kind of like an Alice in Wonderland situation. And so this kind of tells the story of well, not this book in particular, but the series tells the story of like what happens to these children after they get kicked out and they have to return back to kind of what we see as reality, when for them it just like it doesn't make sense for them at all anymore. And some of these books also talk about the alternate worlds that the children visit. And I just really love the different world building that there is, the different characters. It's just a really cool concept that's been realized in these books. So this would definitely be the next book I pick up. All right, and if I have time to try and fulfill each category with different books, then I will try to get to these two books. The first one that I would want to try and get to is The Queen of the Tyrline, and this is by Erica Johansson. And this is actually a book that I pulled off of my own shelves, so it would also go towards my long-term goal of reading about half the books that are on my shelves that are unread by the end of the year. So again, I don't really know a whole lot about this other than a princess is ascending to her rightful place and she has to survive in some way. So I don't really know a whole lot about it. I've heard some really good things about this. It's a really cool red cover. I actually recently got it at a like a book, not a book outlet website sale, but like an outlet, a book sale that was an outlet store for a local bookstore in my area. I hope that makes sense. Anyway, so this is one that I would want to get to, and this would fall under the category of includes royalty. And the last book that I would like to get to either during the Enchantathon or in the month of March is this one, and it's How to Fracture a Fairy Tale by Jane Yolen. I literally picked this up today as I was browsing the new books shelf at my local library. It's a series of short stories about different fairy tales that apparently have been like reimagined. And so I thought that this was really intriguing. I really like the color of the cover and kind of the line art for the cover. And I looked on Goodreads and I think it said that the average review is like a 3.66, which I was like, okay, good enough. And like I said, they're short stories, so I can stop and go and not have to worry about forgetting things or like remembering details because, you know, I can just finish one story and then put this book down. This would obviously fall under the retelling category if I were to get to this during the Enchantathon. Well, those are all the books that I would like to read in the month of February, and if not, I plan to read, at least as of right now, I plan to read in the month of March. I'd love to know what your plans are for this month of February, what you're planning to read or what you're currently reading, and are there any readathons that you'll be participating in the next month or two? So leave your comments down below. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.